There's something profound about being called, something sacred about being chosen that most folks simply don't fully understand. When the Lord sets you aside for a purpose far greater than your own, it comes with a burden that many will never be asked to carry. Those called to a higher assignment, those with a divine appointment, walk a different road. And more often than not, they walk it alone. When God calls you, He doesn't always lead you down a smooth and simple path. He doesn't place you in the crowd where it's easy to blend in and find comfort. No, He draws you out. He places you apart. And that separation, it often feels like isolation, like loneliness, like rejection, like you no longer belong in the places you used to feel at home. But let me remind you of something important. You were never meant to blend in where you were called to lead. The weight of being chosen is not light. It changes how you see the world. It sharpens your hearing for things others miss. That vision burning inside you, the spark that God Himself placed in your spirit, will lead you down a path that others just won't be able to follow. You'll try to explain it. You'll try to bring them along, but many won't understand. Some won't even try. And that's where the ache begins. Because being chosen doesn't just pull you away from the world. Sometimes it pulls you away from the people you love the most. Some of you listening right now know exactly what I'm saying. You've been in a room full of familiar faces and still felt like a stranger. You've been surrounded by children, by grandchildren, and still felt an emptiness deep inside. That feeling, it's not a mistake. That loneliness, it's not a punishment. It's a sign that the Lord is doing something special in you, something He's not doing in everyone else. When you are truly chosen, you cannot live like everyone else. You cannot think like everyone else. And you cannot move the way everyone else moves. That's why you feel out of step. That's why some conversations leave you feeling unseen. It's not because there's something wrong with you. God has planted something within you that demands space, room to grow. It calls for a quiet spirit. It calls for obedience. It calls for deep focus. And sometimes it calls for you to let go of needing to be understood. You're in good company. Some of the most powerful men and women in Scripture went through isolation before they were lifted up. Just look at Moses, brought up in Pharaoh's household, but never truly one of them. Called to lead God's people, but rejected by them early on. Look at Joseph, gifted with prophetic dreams, only to be betrayed and sold by his own brothers. Look at David, anointed as king, but sent back to tend sheep time and time again. The pattern is clear. Before God places you into your calling, He often walks you through seasons of solitude. And that solitude, it will test you. It will humble you. But that's where real transformation happens. But that breaking is essential, because when God is getting you ready, He must remove everything that was never meant to follow you into the next chapter. Those connections that were only for a season, the habits that no longer align with your purpose, and the distractions that drown out His voice. And sometimes the only way He can do that is by pulling you away from the people and places you thought you couldn't live without. I know it's difficult. I know there are nights when you sit awake wondering why God would allow such a heavy load to rest on your shoulders. I know there are days when quitting feels like the only option. When you question, maybe I wasn't made for this. But I'm here to remind you that you were. You were created for this. You were handpicked for this. And if God has called you to it, He will equip you with the strength to endure it. Loneliness is not the final chapter in your story. It is the prologue. It is the refining flame that clarifies your calling. It is the still space where God speaks most clearly. It is the preparation ground for something greater than you can yet comprehend. Don't resist it. Don't push it away. Lean into it. Because when the moment comes, when God says it's time to step fully into your purpose, you'll look back and realize that what felt like loneliness was never loneliness at all. It was God beside you, shaping you, molding you, preparing you, so that when He sends you out, you'll be truly ready. Rejection has a way of cutting to the core. It makes you second guess who you are, wondering if you're truly qualified, if you're truly called, if you're really meant for the purpose that burns so fiercely inside you. You take that step of faith, trusting that others will recognize what God placed within you. You believe they'll stand with you. You believe they'll champion your cause. But instead they leave. They turn their backs. They disregard you. And that kind of hurt, it doesn't just break your heart, it rattles your very soul. But hear me, rejection is not divine punishment, it is divine preparation. It's not God saying you're unworthy, yet God setting you apart for something more. Too many times we internalize rejection. We assume it's evidence of failure, of not being enough. But when God allows rejection to touch your life, it's because He's rerouting you, He's shielding you. He's ensuring you don't settle for less than what He created you for. Think of Joseph. His very own brothers cast him out, threw him into a pit, sold him off like a slave. Yet he carried God-given dreams, visions of what the Lord would accomplish through him. But before Joseph could walk in his calling, he had to pass through the fire of rejection. If his brothers had welcomed him, he would have remained in the same place. If they had supported him, he never would have been pushed onto the journey that took him to Egypt, to the palace, to the very role God had already set aside for him. Sometimes the people you expect to lift you up are the very ones who push you away. They won't grasp your vision. They won't recognize what you see. And you'll feel the pull to make yourself smaller, to dim your calling, just to feel accepted. But God didn't choose you so you could blend in. He called you to stand apart. He called you to rise, to step out, to take your place where others are unwilling to stand. That's why rejection isn't something to run from, it's something to welcome. When you're turned away, don't spend your energy chasing after those who can't see your worth. Don't mourn the doors that have closed, because if God allowed them to shut, it's only because He's opening something far greater. You might not recognize it now. You might not understand it in this season. But if you trust Him, if you keep pressing forward, if you keep holding on, you'll come to realize that every rejection was a setup for a blessing. Every no was pointing you toward a better yes. Some of you are still carrying the wound of rejection, and it's holding you back from stepping into what God has planned. You're still dwelling on the ones who walked away. You're still hearing the words they said. You're still hearing the words they said. You're still letting their judgment write your story. But hear me. Your value does not come from the ones who turn their backs on you. Your purpose isn't canceled just because they didn't see it. If God has called you, that's the only confirmation you'll ever need. If He has chosen you, no level of rejection can derail what He's already prepared. You must change the way you see it. Stop viewing rejection as a failure and start seeing it as a divine redirection. He's shutting doors that don't belong to your future. He's removing people who can't walk the road you're about to travel. He's arranging your surroundings so that when the time is right, you'll be aligned with the right people in the right place at the perfect moment. Even Jesus faced rejection. He was scorned, laughed at, and insulted by the very ones he came to save. He was betrayed by those he held close. Yet he never let their denial keep him from fulfilling his mission. If Christ himself had to face rejection, why would we expect full acceptance? Why assume that being chosen means being celebrated? The reality is this: the higher your purpose, the deeper the rejection. But remember this: rejection is not where your story ends. It's part of the training. It's molding you, sharpening you, making you stronger from the inside out. Because when you finally arrive at the place God has been leading you, you'll look back and realize that every rejection was God's way of saying, I have something better. You'll recognize that He was always in control, always guiding, always protecting, always working behind the scenes to prepare you for something beyond anything you imagined. So the next time rejection shows up at your door, don't weep over it. Don't plead for validation. Stand firm, lift your head with confidence, and remember, God never intended for you to blend in. You were created to stand apart. And He's using every no to draw you closer to your divine assignment. There comes a moment in every life when it becomes clear, before God promotes you, He first allows you to be broken. Not the kind of breaking that destroys you, but the kind that removes every weight you're not meant to carry into your next chapter. This kind of breaking polishes you. It humbles your heart. It gets you ready, because God never elevates without first equipping, and that equipping often comes through discomfort. Many believe that being chosen means a smooth path, a life free from trials. But if you examine the life of anyone God has ever used mightily, a pattern will emerge. Before the rise comes solitude. Before the victory comes pain. Before the crown comes the crushing. And in that crushing, it may feel like everything stable is falling apart. The very things you leaned on begin to disappear. You may question why God is letting so much hardship reach you, especially when you've been trying your best to walk with Him. But that's what it means to be chosen. You're called to endure what others cannot, because you are being molded for what others were never meant to carry. When God places a significant calling on your life, He can't let you enter it unready. He can't risk you stepping into it with pride, resentment, unresolved wounds, or reliance on others. So He permits the breaking. Not because He's unkind, but because the destiny ahead of you is far too great for the person you are right now. Think of David, anointed as a boy, called to be king. Yet before he ever wore a crown, he had to flee for his life. He had to take refuge in caves. He was betrayed by the very people he once defended. God had already selected him, but he wasn't yet prepared. The calling was there. The anointing was real, but he still had to endure the process. And the process hurt. Some of you are in that very place right now. You're in the thick of the breaking, and it doesn't make sense. You're examining your life, questioning why doors won't open, why friendships are crumbling, why the answers to your prayers seem just out of reach. You're asking God, why me? Why this? Why now? And the answer is this: because He is shaping you into the person you were always meant to become. Gold is purified in flames. Diamonds are produced under immense pressure. Oil only flows when the olive has been crushed. And what God has deposited in you can only be brought to the surface through this season of breaking. The dreams He planted in your heart, the calling He's embedded within you, the strength He already knows lives inside, all of it must be drawn out. And that can't happen in comfort. It doesn't come when life is smooth. It emerges when you're brought to your knees, when everything around you has crumbled, and all that remains is your faith in His promises. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and thank Him for the breaking. One day you'll realize every tear you cried, every heartache you endured, every setback you faced, none of it was wasted. It was working for you, not against you. What you once called rejection was really His protection. What felt like suffering was actually preparation. What seemed like the end was actually the beginning of the person God was shaping you to become. So don't push back against the process. Don't try to skip the healing. Allow God to work. Let Him peel away what no longer belongs in your life. Let Him clear out the noise, the attachments, the comforts that are holding you back from fully stepping into your calling. Yes, it will be painful. Yes, it may seem unfair, but when His work in you is complete, you'll rise stronger, walk wiser, and stand unshakable. And when the time is right, when He says it's time to elevate you, you won't just be prepared, you'll be ready. When God sets you apart, He doesn't always make a spectacle of it. He doesn't send a sign in the sky or thunder from the heavens. No, what He does is quieter yet more powerful. He makes you different. And for a while, even you may not fully grasp what's happening. You just know you don't quite belong. You can be surrounded by people and still feel like you're traveling a road no one else is on. You might be offered opportunities, but something inside whispers, this isn't for you. You may have relationships, but they seem to fade or fall away. Eventually you begin to ask, why? Why do I always feel out of place? Why is my journey so unlike? The answer is clear. You weren't made to blend in. You weren't created to fit into places that were never meant to hold you. You weren't designed to be like everyone else because your purpose is not like everyone else's. There is something unique within you that God has set apart for a mission far beyond what you can currently see. And that kind of calling, it demands a path that looks different. It demands a process that many won't be able to comprehend. There is a burden that comes with being chosen. There's a solitude that often walks hand in hand with divine purpose. And if you're not watchful, you may begin to resent the very thing that makes you extraordinary. You may start seeing your difference as a weight instead of a gift. You may begin to think there's something wrong with you because you don't move like others, you don't think like others, and you refuse to settle like others. But let me tell you something. Being set apart is not a burden. It's a sign that God's hand is upon your life. It's confirmation that He is calling you higher, preparing you for something far beyond the ordinary, something that demands you be distinguished from the rest. And that kind of preparation, it's rarely simple. It means some people won't stay. It means you'll go through seasons where you feel completely misunderstood. It means you'll walk through some doors alone, believing with all your heart that if God brought you there, He'll carry you through it. It means you'll be asked to make decisions that don't add up to those around you. Choices that require courage. Choices that demand surrender. Take Moses, for example. He was raised in Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by luxury, status, and influence. Yet something deep inside told him, this isn't who I am. He could have remained in comfort. He could have chosen ease. But he was destined for more. And that greater purpose, it took him straight into the wilderness, into isolation, into a time where the only thing he had left to lean on was God. And for some of you reading this, you're in that wilderness right now. You feel like you've been pulled away from everything familiar, like you're navigating this season completely alone. And it's easy to wonder if you've lost your way, if maybe you've missed God's voice. But let me assure you, this is not punishment. This is divine preparation. God isn't distancing you to harm you. He's setting you apart so he can mold you. He's showing you how to lean on him completely, how to follow when the path ahead is unclear, how to walk by faith when nothing's. And when the moment comes, when he finally unveils what he's been crafting behind the scenes, you'll look back and realize that every quiet moment, every tough decision, every time you felt like an outsider was absolutely essential. You'll recognize that he never left you, never turned his back on you. He was shaping you, preparing you, setting you apart for the very purpose he designed just for you. There is something about being chosen that draws opposition. It makes you a target. The moment God sets you apart, the moment he places his hand upon your life, the battle begins. And for many, that war starts long before they realize it. Some of you have been facing resistance for as far back as you can remember. It feels like you've had to fight for every ounce of peace, every piece of purpose, even your right to exist. You didn't choose the battle. The battle chose you. And you ask yourself, why? Why does life feel like an endless fight while others seem to move forward without resistance? Why have you been met with loss, abandonment, betrayal, and adversity? And if you're honest, why? But listen closely. The warfare over your life is evidence of the anointing on your life. The enemy doesn't target those who pose no threat. He doesn't waste his time on people with no purpose, no assignment, no future. He pursues those who carry something powerful. He pursues those who have been chosen by God for something extraordinary. That's why the conflict has been so fierce. That's why you've walked through things that should have destroyed you. That's why the enemy has thrown blow after blow, because he can see the greatness inside of you even when you can't. He knows. Look at Joseph. God gave him a dream, a glimpse of the destiny ahead. But before he stepped into it, he was thrown into a pit, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, locked in a prison cell. Everything around him seemed to be collapsing, but in truth, everything was being orchestrated for his elevation. Each test, each trial, each painful season was moving him closer to the purpose God had already laid out. Some of you are right there, deep in the pit, and you're trying to make sense of the chaos. You look at your life and wonder how all the pain, all the setbacks could possibly serve a purpose. But what you can't see is the divine preparation happening behind the curtain. What you haven't realized is that every fight has been shaping you for where God is leading you. The very things that were intended to break you have built your strength. The hardship that came to take you out has been forging endurance within you. Because here's what you need to know. God doesn't assign heavy callings to the untested. He doesn't hand out great missions to those who haven't been forged through fire. That's why he permits the difficulty, not to crush you, but to craft you. He permits the pressure, not to destroy you, but to develop you. Because in order to carry the weight of what he has destined for your life, you must be strong enough to remain standing, sharp enough to discern truth, and tough enough to press on, even when every part of you wants to stop. And that's exactly why the enemy has been relentless in his attacks. That's why the pressure has felt so overwhelming. Because he knows that the moment you fully step into the identity God created for you, the moment you recognize the power and authority planted within you, there's absolutely nothing he can do to hold you back. He can launch his attacks, but he cannot prevail. He can place hurdles in your path, but he cannot undo what God has already ordained for your life. So don't allow the struggle to harden your heart. Don't let the enemy's schemes cause you to question your worth. Know this: every battle you face, every trial you walk through, every hardship you endure is evidence that you are aligned with your divine purpose. It's the sign that you are not average, that you've been marked, that God's presence is resting on your life. And when you make it through to the other side of this season, and you'll be stronger, you'll be wiser, and you'll be prepared for everything God has promised. Keep pushing forward. Keep standing your ground. Victory is already yours. When God assigns a calling to your life, he doesn't just lay out a path ahead of you. He shapes you for that path. And that shaping process is rarely comfortable. It's rarely what you envisioned. And it's almost never the route you would have picked for yourself. Because being set apart doesn't mean life gets easier. It doesn't mean every door swings open with no effort. It doesn't mean you'll always be welcomed, understood, or applauded. Sometimes being chosen looks like walking alone. Sometimes it looks like being turned away by the very people you thought would stand by you. Sometimes it means enduring unexpected storms, fighting battles you never imagined you'd face. And in those moments, it's natural to begin doubting the call. You might think, if God really picked me, wouldn't this path be smoother? Wouldn't those around me recognize my heart and support me? Shouldn't things fall into place a little easier? But what if I told you that the struggle is the sign, that the loneliness is part of the refining, that the breaking is actually the making? Look at David. When the prophet anointed him to be king, he was still just a boy tending sheep. He wasn't in the palace. He wasn't wearing a crown. He wasn't even acknowledged by his own family. He was out in the field, forgotten. And once he was chosen, once he had received confirmation of God's call, things didn't get simpler, they became more difficult. He had to flee for his life. He lived in hiding. He was betrayed, misunderstood, forced to confront giants and fight battles that weren't his to begin with. But through every lonely night, every crushing moment, every uncertain season, God was shaping him into the leader he was destined to be. Some of you are in that very process right now. You feel sidelined, unseen, buried beneath the weight of life's burdens. You've stayed faithful, yet the doors remain closed. You've followed every step in obedience, but the road has been anything but smooth. And now you're beginning to question whether you still have the strength to keep moving forward. But let me reassure you, just because the promise hasn't shown up yet doesn't mean it isn't on the way. Just because you're wandering through a dry season doesn't mean you've strayed from the path. God is not punishing you, He is preparing you. In the stillness, He is making you stronger. In the quiet, He is shaping your character. He is teaching you to depend on Him when there's nothing else left to grasp. Because when the moment comes for you to step fully into your calling, you won't just be equipped, you'll be immovable. Here's the reality. Not everyone will understand your process. Not everyone will recognize what God is cultivating inside you. Some will question it. Some will dismiss it. Others may walk away simply because they cannot perceive the depth of what's within you. But don't let their confusion shake your confidence. Don't let their rejection cause you to question your identity. If they leave, release them. If a door shuts, trust that it wasn't meant for you. If the path is more difficult than you anticipated, remember, it's because the purpose God is forming in you is greater than anything you've envisioned. Those who are chosen are often called to endure the fiercest battles. They carry the heaviest burdens. But they are also entrusted with the most powerful anointing. Because once you've been tested, once you've been purified in the fire, once you've journeyed through the lowest valleys and held on to your faith, nothing can shake you. Nothing can break you. So don't be disheartened by the process. Don't let the pain make you forget the promise. Keep moving. Keep trusting. Keep believing. Because every word God has declared over your life will come to pass. And when the moment arrives, when the preparation is complete and everything He has been forming in you is ready, nothing on this earth will be able to block what He has set in motion. Hold fast to stay steady, because your moment is on the horizon.